My name is Jeff Shaner. Welcome to the Next Generation Field Operations presentation. Today we have two guest speakers, speaker presentations that we're going to talk through today. I'm going to introduce the first group from Epik Solutions. We've got Kelly Kaiser, Khushbu Sagal, and from PG&E, Alicia Sandoval. So they're going to talk to us today about leveraging real-time data and AI for next generation field operations. So Kelly, I'm going to kick it off to you. I'm just going to flip you over to number 4, I believe. Is that right? No. Let's see which number you're at. Number 4. There we go.
Ready?
Go ahead.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We appreciate it. Hi, guys. We're from Epik Solutions. Before we get into our solution, we're going to just give you a little bit of background on us. Epik Solutions works with utility companies to modernize and simplify their field operations. We have over 500 skilled members and have delivered 1,000 plus projects over a 10-year span and have a global footprint across the US, Mexico, and India. And we're really grateful to have partners like ESRI, AWS, and Google. So now into our solution, FieldOps.AI. I'm going to hand it over to my co-presenter, Kelly, to take it over.
Great. Thank you, Khushbu. Hello, everyone. As you mentioned, my name is Kelly. I'm a GIS developer and a program manager for a leading utility provider. And most of my work in FieldOps.AI is for electric utility vegetation management. And over my time working with, in-field workers and leadership teams, there's been reoccurring barriers to really good targeted field operations. One of them is compliance concerns, and as I think we would all know, a reliance on, tracking down paper trails and the data integrity issues that comes with. And repetitive processes is another one. It's, typing the same data into the same fields over and over multiple times when you're out in the field on a tablet, a phone, or even a desktop, and finding ways on how to auto-populate that. That's definitely a struggle for non-tech savvy people and for tech savvy people. And obviously, just human nature, there's going to be a lot of non-tech savvy people. So the ability to cut down on process steps is a key driver for this solution. And another repetitive process is just going to one audit location once. Multiple visits to the same location, obviously, is a drain on resources, time, and all that. So ArcGIS Online is the industry leader in GIS, as we all know. We happily use it as the backbone to our vegetation management field operations, and we simplify large-scale projects. We create maps and surveys and feature layer tables on a program basis. And those specific set of programs, they have their own requirements that we have to build surveys and feature layers based off of. And there's different aspects of an individual audit location. So you have one asset location, there could be multiple surveys that you need to audit on that. We drive a cost efficiency numbers for infrastructure maintenance by putting slicers through our collected data and where we can hone in on vegetation management costs or any asset management costs, and how we can diminish those costs so it's not pushed on to the end user, the end customer of, in our case, the utility providing customers. We also give predictive insights to team leaders. We use historically collected data trends, both spatially and statistically. One thing I can think of is, what area of my distribution network will need to be audited the most this upcoming July in 2025. You can use, let's say, the last 3 years of collected data with historical trends, overlay those, and get really, like I mentioned, the statistical side and the spatial side of where you think you're going to have to spend your most resources auditing this year. So the ability to get insights from our data come from really strong, initially, how the data was collected. And then after that, it's all about how it's being stored. So you can create different views from it and really tell the story that, not just that you want, but really what the data is telling you. If you create your own story, it's not an actual data story, it's just telling you what you want to see. So the way you store it is big for us. We use, as I mentioned, past audit results from our Survey 123 collections, manufacturer spec sheets for, like metal corrosion times or fluid change schedules or different life expectancies that the manufacturer puts out on their data. And then we overlay external data sources like weather trends, and all that stuff. We put it into a data lake, unstructured format, and then move it into a data warehouse where it's much more structured data. You can omit pieces of the data that you don't want to include, or obviously include all the data you want, but just in a cleaner, more structured feel. One thing that we've been doing a lot here in 2024 is working on image recognition for Survey 123 photos. We read numbers and photos, so an instance I can give is when you're out in a field in like let's say a utility instance, and you're gonna go audit poll number 206, you can use image recognition to say, read these numbers. If it says 206 and it matches in a Survey 123 field, poll number 206, then it's good to go. But let's say when you're out in the field, they put the field auditor fat thumbs it on their iPad and it says 204. Then you can have a mismatch and it creates a QA/QC process on, okay, these two fields aren't matching, which one's right, which one's wrong. And you can really fine tune how your image recognition works on that. But that's really what we've been working on here in these last couple months, is implementing that into our Survey 123 results. So clearly there's a lot of analytics and reports you can display, like for our leaders and that are looking at the dashboards and Power BI dashboards. But they're the actual ArcGIS apps that we create, the feature layers and sources from the data warehouse, are more along the lines of infrastructure, locations, access nodes and access roads, different alert layers. And we schedule jobs on like SQL or sometimes using Power Automate on appending new data into these access nodes and access layers to really give an automated task. So at 1 a.m. you get 300 new access nodes that were collected in the past day. So from all this, we've been seeing really motivating business metrics, incredible compliance with our Public Utility Commission. We're doing that by setting our internal alerts tighter than what the PUC mandates that we have to follow, which inherently creates higher internal standards for us in doing our Survey 123 collection. We're getting quicker workflows, especially for our in-field workers. That's with less system clicks. A lot of that is thanks to auto-populating using creative arcade code on the feature layer, mapping it to the Survey 123. And that's given us real-time dashboards instead of just like clicking around in Excel. So you're saving user clicks out in the field and also having the data fed right to different dashboards, whether it's Power BI or ArcGIS dashboards, that it's just saving clicks when then the field leaders are actually at the office too. And another thing we're seeing is really cool is very quick onboarding times for new employees. And that's really thanks to ArcGIS being an industry leader. I mean, they have a really welcoming interface, as we all know, and it allows us to create a huge solution like this, but be able to teach it to non-tech savvy people that not always are going to have the willingness to, adopt new technology, and we don't expect them to have that at all. But it gives us the ability to teach, hardcore GIS solutions to non-tech savvy people, which has been really cool for us. So personally, I support a few different teams for our vegetation management work, and we use experience builder apps. I see the apps being used in mainly two different ways. The first is more like a prerequisite to when you're out in the field. It's almost like the field workers have the chance to go onto their laptops and really prepare their audit locations and the attributes before they go out into the field, like customer names, mileage projections, all that stuff. And once they get out to the field, it's there for them on online or offline mode versus looking through different databases while you're out in the field, different apps, all that. The other side I see us using the Experience Builder apps is more of a post-field work, and it's more on the managerial side. It's more to do tasks such as like archive audit locations, so survey 1, 2, 3 results, or put them on hold, or edit specific questions within the survey results. And that sets up us, the field workers, only having to go to an audit location once, as they are limited fields that they can edit within the survey 1, 2, 3 results. So you're not taking away necessarily the snapshot in time that the audit is when the actual auditor is out there, but it gives the ability for leaders to change, perhaps comments or just stuff that's not actually the asset specific. So the person doesn't have to go back out into the field, but it still gives the original data for the actual asset location to, give you the data that you want. Being able to do all that allows us to build like a full-fledged metrics and reporting team on that based on the survey 1, 2, 3 results. It makes everyone have to play by like the same rules, where let's say on our Experience Builder app, you have, let's say, a week to make changes or edit specific questions on survey results. Once that week is over, if you didn't edit the survey results, it's too bad. It's game over. That's the actual audit. That's on the leadership team at that point. The survey was collected there, so that's true data. Being able to play by those rules, being able to edit, hold, archive, constrain stuff, it allows you to build like a full, like I mentioned, a metrics and reporting team behind it, which, as on our past slide, it really drives our compliance numbers. On the actual in-field use by our auditors, we're really hearing positive feedback, as I was talking about earlier, even from non-tech savvy people. We use primarily field maps in Survey 1, 2, 3 and Survey 1, 2, 3 Connect. We're heavy on the calculation and the constraint columns in Survey 1, 2, 3 Connect. And as I mentioned earlier, we're auto-populating a lot of the survey questions now, which is a new addition for our field operations team. On the first Experience Builder application that I was mentioning on the last slide, where they go in there, pre-populate all their attributes. Now when they come out into the offline mode, online or offline, they can simply click one of these hyperlinks, and all that pre-populated information then goes into their Survey 1, 2, 3 form. And that allows the field auditors to target down on the actual audit, what their skill sets are for, and the trust that comes from behind that. Another big thing is multiple surveys per location with the same audit ID. It allows asset locations on the map to be audited by multiple surveys, and individual field scenarios dictates the use of different surveys for different reasons. You could have like an initial mandatory asset audit. So I'm going to this field location, I must do an audit on it. But then there might be field-specific conditions that require the use of a second survey that is linked to the initial asset location. So now you have the initial asset location by a unique identifier, like a survey ID, and you have tied to it the location itself, a survey, a mandatory survey, and then now based on new field conditions when you're out there, like perhaps maybe past inspection dates or something in the database is wrong, you need to report that. Now you can do another survey on it and then have it be tied to that same location. And there's steps after that you can use. On the right screenshot on here, you can see that we have a QC transmission survey. So we have our initial audit location survey, and then we also have what we call is a missed veg survey. A missed veg survey is what it sounds like. There needs to be a tree in our database that's not in our database. So on the vegetation management side, on what we do, I go to the asset location, I'm gonna fill out this survey, did the survey, but also I see 2 trees over here that aren't in the database, and I'm not sure why they're not. I'm gonna fill out this survey, and for that reason, I'm gonna put it into a records, which goes on to our metrics and reporting team, and now we have, in this month, 2 trees that are not in our database, and you can drill down as to why. Another big thing for us that our field workers are loving is the ability to search for other assets or other feature layers from an existing location. That's on the right-hand screenshot, the middle hyperlink. It allows you to click that, and in our case, it'll tell you how many trees are around a given audit location. So instead of like zooming into an audit location and finding, manually counting 10 trees in this area, you can click the hyperlink, which is totally customizable, and it says within, let's say 50 feet of this location, there are 10 trees here. You can do it with, we do it with one layer right now, but you can do it with multiple layers. You can do, trees, how many poles are in this area, any of that. And you can customize the distance too, which is really cool. That's like what I hear from our field workers the most as to why they're loving the use of field maps. And lastly, it's nothing special, but we put user acknowledgements on all of our surveys to make them true audits. It really emphasizes the auditor's like skills and the trust that comes with it, and it makes the auditor out in the field, they feel good about it. Employee morale, it says, yes, this is real data. This is the actual data that I'm collecting, and you can feel good about using it in your leadership reports to make my job better. So it's nothing special, but it is good for like employee morale, field employee morale, and the trust that it brings the leadership team. Is there's a simple mandatory question, you must select it, just an acknowledgement with a disclaimer. So we have Alicia here. She's been instrumental in driving our solution here, doing vegetation management. So we welcome any questions between us three, and I would say thank you.
All right, thank you. Can you just flip it to 5 real quick?
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, now is a great time to ask Kelly and Alicia. And I'm also just going to check to see if there's any digital questions that have come in, because this session is being live streamed. So for those of you that are listening in, feel free to ask questions, and we'll take any questions you might have. Anybody? Be shy.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the digital audience, what do we do if we get to a location and it is, let's say, a damaged electrical line, and they need to basically say there's a damaged electrical line? We do, yeah. So not a lot, but the programs that I manage, we do it on a point basis, not a line basis. So when they get out there, they click on that, and there's a list of surveys that they can basically choose from, like a mandatory one, a miss veg, or just like a veg point, we call it. So like, there is a tree here, and I need to audit this tree. But on our distribution maps, there is an option where you can click on the actual line layer and drop a location, and it's based on your GPS at that point. We don't do anything with GNSS, like our next presentation will be talking about, but it does give you an idea of where that location's at, and it puts, the survey result there, and it ties the same transmission line name segment on that, as it ties that onto the survey results, so you can use that data later.
Well, I'm going to ask a question then. I'm going to ask it to Alicia. Alicia, can you talk about it from this presentation, from the perspective of PG&E, and how you see it transforming the way that your team will work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, it's very interactive with the user, and very having the ability to customize it, right, to the needs of our field people, the business in general. But it has provided a lot of flexibility in that, right? And having the field users, go out and utilize these tools and these technologies, and basically having things at their fingertips, right? Where prior they would have to print this information out, or they didn't have everything accessible to them as they're out in the field. And so there was a lot of planning that had to take place. They had to plan out their routes. They had to plan out, and those planning and trying to understand, the scope of their work took a lot of time, right? And so implementing these tools has been able to cut that in, drastically, right? Where they're actually going out on things that we've already validated, like they need to go, these are work that has recently been performed and needs to be inspected. Right. So it's giving them that information, and as they click into these maps and into these it provides real-time information to them where they can see what work has been done there, what they're looking at, and also, customer information. So if they need to contact prior to going in, it gives them safety alerts, all of these different things, right, where they can just start work and from the ground running and moving forward, right? So it's allowed us to, productivity-wise, increase our productivity. It's improved the field workers and their ability to, get to those locations, review their job sites, do their quality checks, and then move on to the next. So it's definitely been a drastic change for us.
Yeah, I was gonna
with the whole
say.
technology side, because
Right.
for some things, PG&E is a little behind on some of those things. So being able to kind of get caught up to speed and providing that real-time information in their hand, and the ability that, because there's a lot of times where our field people are in remote areas, right? So having the ability of downloading an offline map and having that information accessible to them even when they're in a remote area, right? And still seeing their same information, being able to fill out their surveys, and then also having that syncing ability that once they are in connectivity, they can, all that information can be synced real time and fed to the business.
Yeah.
So
What do you think was probably the biggest challenge of having them move to technology?
change, but
The
just in
change.
individuals, right? I mean,
Yeah.
people get accustomed to the way and they get familiar and comfortable in the ways that they're doing things. And so it's really, championing that ability to change and accept change. And then once you start to show them the benefits and the time savings, then little by little, they start to buy in and think, this is a great tool that obviously they would want to take advantage of. So
Did you find you had like one or two early adopters that really liked going to the digital solution and they were helping others, or?
yeah, we definitely did where we had, individuals within the team that would go out to the field. So we did a lot of field visits. So the first part was really understanding what they were doing, what their challenges were, right? So that we could understand when we're building something, how to address those challenges, right? And then once we did that and we rolled out with a tool for them, then we had users out in the field that kind of, walked with them and got real-time feedback to figure out, like, because there's sometimes where, icons or colors or just certain things just don't, appeal to certain, users and things like that, or the information was too small, or they didn't like that, it didn't launch them right back into the survey form, different things, right? We got feedback. And as we walked through that process with them, we were able to, implement some of those enhancements for them that just made it easier for them. And so that interaction and that collaboration with them and really getting them involved in the process and really hearing their feedback and implementing, I think really helped out a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how many people do you have using the solution now?
We have, I would say, close to about 300.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, between our vegetation side, and now we've just are starting new development on our electric operations side.
And using ArcGIS Enterprise? What version are?
Well, we're not part of, and Arun could probably talk to this better than me, but we use AGOL, right?
ArcGIS Online?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a question someone had. Did you author the survey using Survey 123 Connect or Survey 123 within the enterprise or ArcGIS Online?
Yeah, it's Survey 123 Connect for sure.
Survey 123 Connect.
A lot more customization in there. You can do calculations, constraints, a lot more. You can customize it to however you want, basically, in the Connect.
Right.
Yeah, the biggest thing was taking as much out of the user's hands to have to input anything or add anything, right? Like the more fields pre-populated and calculated for them, right, was like the way to go. So Connect gave you that ability to really build that functionality within there. So
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's a lot more functionality that's been in Connect than has been in the web designer for you to do that.
Right.
They're closing that gap within Survey 123 now, but for your implementation time, using the Connect tool to design your survey forms was the right approach to take too.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you very much for presenting today. Appreciate that. And if you have questions for follow-up, we'll be collecting them through the digital system as well. And I know